June 2025, in a small peaceful village in Muzaffarnagar, Uttar Pradesh, India, where barley fields stretch out under the sweltering sun, and children play in front of their mud-roofed houses. But in a low-roofed house in Rodkali village, the unexpected happens. A 5-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl, siblings, suddenly die within hours of eating a meal. There are no external injuries and no one has seen anything unusual. At first, the villagers think it is food poisoning. But when the autopsy report is released, the whole community is stunned. The perpetrator, according to the confession, was none other than the 24-year-old biological mother of the 2 children. Why would a mother kill her own children? The answer is outrageous not only because of the crime, but also because of the motive behind it. I wanted to go on my honeymoon with my lover without being bothered by my children. Let's dive into this shocking case right away. Muskan, 24, lives in Rodkali village in Muzaffarnagar, Uttar Pradesh. She is married to Anas, a migrant worker who is often absent from home to earn a living. The couple has 2 children, Arhan, 5 years old, and Enaya, over 1 year old. In the eyes of her neighbors, Muskan is a quiet, reserved but capable woman. However, behind that calm exterior lies a huge void in her soul. Prolonged loneliness makes it easy for her to fall into an extramarital relationship with Junaid, a neighbor with a criminal record. As her feelings for Junaid deepen, Muskan begins to see her 2 children as a burden, the only constraint preventing her from being free to love. And from that thought, a tragedy gradually takes shape. As time went on, Muskan and Junaid's secret conversations became more frequent and intimate. She began to neglect the care of the children, often leaving Arhan to play alone in the yard or sitting for hours with baby Enaya without interacting. Some neighbors asked about the children because they were hungry or crying for a long time, but Muskan would only reply curtly that they are fussing. Junaid made no secret of his desire to live with Muskan. In the messages later extracted by the police, he repeatedly wrote sentences such as, "We will have a new life. No one can keep you except those 2 children." At first, Muskan was hesitant, but her feelings for Junaid grew stronger while her married life was nothing more than cold calls from her husband away from home. She began to imagine a rebirth scenario, leaving everything behind, leaving Rodkali with Junaid, starting a new chapter. Only the 2 children could not come together. Once, in a phone call with Junaid, he coldly said, "You have to choose. You cannot live with me and be the mother of another person's child. Never." It was no longer a suggestion. It was an ultimatum. No one in the village noticed anything unusual. Muskan hid it well, but in the weeks leading up to the murder, some people noticed. Arhan often appeared sad and ran less than usual. He told his neighbor's son that his mother often cried alone and got angry for no reason. A drug seller in the market said that Muskan had asked to buy a strong sleeping pill for the children, saying that the 2 children were restless at night and couldn't sleep. At the time, he didn't suspect anything. Many mothers had asked the same thing. She once told her neighbor, in a tired moment, "If I didn't have children, I would have a different life." Yet no one thought that a mother, even one with an affair, could do such a cruel thing to her own child. No one called the police. No one was alert. Everyone thought Muskan was just stressed because her husband had been away for so long. And then, on a scorching hot afternoon in the middle of June, all those vague signs came to life in a real tragedy. At noon on June 14th, 2025, the sun was scorching hot in Muzaffarnagar, the heat pressing down on the ground. In the dimly lit kitchen of the tin-roofed house, Muskan was cooking rice as usual. But this time on the kitchen counter was a small bottle containing an odorless, colorless solution of poison that she had secretly bought a few days ago. Baby Arhan was sitting on the ground drawing with bamboo sticks, while baby Enaya occasionally cried and asked to be held. Muskan glanced at the clock. It was past mealtime. She sighed, ladled soup into bowls, and secretly poured a few drops of the solution into the children's food. In her mind at that moment, There was no longer the image of her children taking their first steps, no longer the laughter and babbling mommy. She only thought of Junaid, of the upcoming trip, of freedom. Muskan called, "Arhan, come eat." The boy ran in, pulled up a chair and sat down next to the old stainless steel tray. Baby Enaya was placed on his mother's lap and fed with small spoonfuls. They ate very well. Didn't know anything. Didn't suspect anything, didn't protest. After eating, Muskan washed her hands and sat down to breathe a sigh of relief. She took out her phone and opened the chat window with Junaid. She was about to text when Arhan started vomiting. The boy held his stomach, staggered out into the yard, collapsed and gasped. Enaya, from her mother's arms, suddenly burst into tears, her whole body convulsing. The poison was starting to take effect. Muskan sat and watched, silent. No hugs, no ambulance calls, no neighbors. She just watched. The two children struggled for a few minutes, then gradually passed out. Their small bodies trembled, their eyes rolled back. That moment for a normal mother was hell. But for Muskan, it was the door that opened to what she thought was liberation. 15 minutes later, both children were unconscious. She still did not call anyone, did not shout. Just quietly dialed Junaid's phone number. The call recording extracted later showed a brief conversation. "I'm done." A man's voice on the other end, smiling slightly. "Good. Get ready. I'll come tomorrow." She hung up, quietly placing the two children side by side on a thin mattress in the middle of the house. At that time, it was still noon. The sun was still shining through the cracks in the door. The neighbors had no idea what had just happened. Until nearly 4 p.m., when Muskan started screaming in the middle of the yard as if she had just accidentally discovered her children had died unexpectedly. Her cries rang out, "They're dead." Who did what to my children? Neighbors ran over, some calling the police, others calling the doctor. But the real tragedy happened long before that, from the moment she chose her lover instead of motherhood. Around 4 p.m., when the sun had cooled down a bit, a scream suddenly rang out from Muskan's house, startling the whole neighborhood. The first person to run over was Mr. Salim, the next-door neighbor. He saw Muskan sitting in the middle of the yard holding little Enaya's body, shaking his head continuously, crying and shouting, "They're dead! My baby is dead! Help!" A few others ran over later. Little Arhan lay motionless on the mattress in the room, while Enaya, still in Muskan's arms, was cold. No one knew what had happened. A woman in the neighborhood even knelt down and prayed, thinking that the devil had entered this house. The police were called immediately, along with a private doctor from the village. By the time the local police jeep arrived, a crowd had gathered in front of the house. The commanding officer, Inspector Rajiv Singh, ordered everyone to stand back and cordoned off the area. The paramedics quickly examined the two children and confirmed they had been dead for at least 2 hours. There were no signs of impact, no blood, no external injuries. But little Arhan still had white foam on his mouth, a classic sign of poisoning. Muskan cried, struggled, and rolled around in front of everyone. She said she didn't know what happened, that they had lunch and then lay down to rest, and then they were seen in the afternoon. As people rushed to mourn, the investigation team began to sense something was wrong. Officer Rajiv noted, "Why was there no sign of resistance from the mother? Why did she not take her child to the hospital immediately when she saw the abnormal signs? And most importantly, why was the time to report to the police so far from the predicted time of death?" He asked her to come to the police station to give her statement. Muskan did not object. She nodded, wiped her tears, and followed the police car. Neighbors surrounded the car. Some even held her hand to comfort her. In their eyes, she was still a mother grieving the loss of her child. But at the police station, when the interrogation room door closed, Muskan's expression began to change. The next morning, the bodies of the two children were transferred to the morgue of the Muzaffarnagar District Hospital. The preliminary forensic report stunned the entire investigation team. Both children, Arhan and Enaya, died from chemical poisoning, which had entered their bodies through food and drink. Specifically, their stomachs contained traces of phosphide, a highly toxic active ingredient commonly found in rat poison. No bruises, no strangulation, no fall, no external factors. Death came from within, from the last meal to be exact. The police returned to the scene a second time. In the kitchen, they found an unlabeled white plastic bottle behind the stove. When they opened it, there was a strong chemical smell inside. Tests showed that it was liquid rat poison, which is often sold unregulated in rural markets. That bottle could not have appeared on its own. The only person living with the two children at the time of the murder was their mother, Muskan. Investigators seized Muskan's phone for further examination. What they found confirmed all suspicions. In the 3 weeks leading up to the murder, Muskan and Junaid, his lover, had been texting each other dozens of times a day. The messages were not just love notes but also contained phrases that suggested a premeditated plan to get rid of the children. A text message from Junaid to Muskan 3 days before the murder. "I can't live with you if the kids are still there." Or a text message from Muskan the day before the murder. "It'll be done tomorrow. I'm ready." The call at around 2:30 p.m., just after the girls began to fade, showed Muskan calling Junaid and saying exactly one sentence. "I'm done. We can go now." There were no goodbyes, no tears, no regrets, just one sentence. Calm, cool, as if she had just completed a trivial task. When questioned at the police station, Muskan initially denied the charges. She said the children must have eaten something bad, or maybe taken the wrong medicine. But after nearly 6 hours of constant confrontation, when the investigator showed a photo of the medicine bottle found in the house, a copy of a text message with Junaid, a forensic report of the poison in the children's bodies, Muskan burst into tears, but not because she felt remorse. It was because she knew she couldn't escape. She confessed everything. "I don't hate the children, but if they're still there, I can't go with him. I'm tired. I want to start over." She said she bought the medicine from a stranger at the market and mixed it into the children's lunch. After seeing them start vomiting, she tried to sit still, not helping them, not doing anything. Then she called Junaid as agreed. Police immediately issued a statewide manhunt for Junaid, who was identified as an indirect accomplice. But when they arrived at his home that night, the room had been trashed. The landlord said he left that afternoon. He said he was going on a trip. Since then, no trace of Junaid has been found. Police suspect he crossed illegally into Nepal or Bangladesh, using the border's gray areas. His name has been added to the federal tracking system, but no arrests have been made. Muskan, on the other hand, has nowhere to go. She is in custody awaiting trial, but the real chill lies not in the cell, it lies in the story she left behind. A mother who killed her two children in exchange for an imaginary honeymoon. Soon after Muskan's statement was formally recorded, the Muzaffarnagar Magistrates Court ordered her remanded in custody without bail on charges of premeditated murder, Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code, conspiracy to commit a serious crime, Section 120B, destruction of evidence and failure to render aid to a person in distress. The prosecution opposed all bail applications, saying the incident was particularly heinous, deliberate, and without any sign of remorse. The police also argued that if released, Muskan might try to contact Junaid, disrupt the investigation, or risk suicide to escape trial. Muskan's husband, Mod Anas, returned home just days after the incident. He went straight to the morgue to identify his son's body, then to the police station to rehear his statement. The press reported, "The man stood motionless in front of the morgue for nearly 30 minutes without saying a word." In a brief interview with a local news channel, Anas choked up and said, "I worked 14 hours a day just to give them a good life. I trusted her, so much that I sent my two children to her without any doubt. And now, I have lost everything." The husband's family demanded the maximum sentence. They refused to appear in court during the preliminary hearings, saying that they cannot sit in the same room with the person who killed Arhan and Enaya. In Rodkali village, people were gossiping. A neighbor told the Times of India, "I used to hold Enaya when she was a toddler." Who would have thought that the mother would do this? Major newspapers such as NDTV, Times of India, Hindustan Times, all reported the case with sensational headlines. For an imaginary honeymoon, she killed her own child. Is love blind or murderous emptiness? 2 children, and the price of the desire for freedom. On social media, netizens were divided into many debates. The majority expressed extreme anger, demanding the death penalty. A few others asked, what made a mother choose that path? Was she depressed? Or was she a victim of social pressure? Whatever the reason, the fact remains. 2 innocent children died by the person who gave birth to them. As of September 2025, Muskan remains in custody, awaiting formal trial at the Muzaffarnagar Criminal Court. Junaid remains at large. If convicted, Muskan could face life imprisonment without parole, or the death penalty, if the court determines the act falls within the rarest and most heinous category of Indian law. Will justice come? Indian society, and in particular the 2 small graves in Rodkali village, are still waiting for answers. In a society where maternal love is still considered the most sacred, this case is like a knife slashing into collective beliefs. No one expected that one day, the person who bore the child would kill 2 innocent children, not because of hatred, not because of poverty, but just because she wanted to be free to love. We can call Muskan a devil. We can resent Junaid for poisoning her mind, but after all, the scariest thing is, evil sometimes does not need daggers or guns. It just needs a wrong decision in a moment of weakness. If a mother, who once cherished her child, used to lull her child to sleep every night, could become so cold, then this society needs to review what is really broken inside seemingly normal homes. This case raises more than just questions of justice or punishment. It forces each of us to confront the holes in our hearts, hidden loneliness, unchecked relationships, and a society too busy to see the silent crisis right next to it. Those 2 children, Arhan and Enaya, died in silence, unprotected, unsaved, yet their deaths must not be forgotten. Sometimes it is the people we love most who need to be protected from those closest to us. And if society does not learn from this tragedy, the small graves of Rodkali will forever be just another sad story.